Hi guys, good evening. Guys, if you're able to see my screen, just type S in the chat box so that we can get started. Yeah, thanks for the confirmation. So let's continue with the API testing sessions, okay? So where we are, let's see. Let's go back. Okay, so what I covered in the last session, I covered about the difference between URI, URL, URN, right? URL can also be called as URI. That's what is a summary of the last session. Then now I'm going to cover these topics. I'll try my level best in covering these topics, guys. One, two, three, four, five topics today. Let's see if I will be able to complete these five topics today or not. But I'll start with this one, okay? So the topic here is different components of a URL. Okay? Different components of a URL. Let me go here and type here. Different components of a URL. So what is the full form of URL, guys? What is the full form of URL? URL stands for, the last session also I covered, right? What is the full form of URL? Uniform Resource Locator. As the name speaks, it will locate the resource which is available on the server side or whatever it is. Okay. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. It will locate the resources. URLs will locate the resources. That's why the name Uniform Resource Locator. Right? That's what is a. So let me give you an example of a sample URL. Otherwise, we can go with some examples here. You see one example you can clearly see. What is example we have here, guys? What is a simple URL will look like this? https:// www.tutorialsninja.com/ okay. That is a simple URL. Okay. Example of a simple URL is, simple URL will look like this. https:// www.tutorialsninja, for example.com. This is a simple URL. So can you confirm, guys, this is a URL? Yes or no? Can we say this is a URL? Yes or no? What do you say? Do you agree with me? Yes, this is a URL, but this is a simple URL. And there are some complex URLs also, guys. Okay, there are some complex URLs. How the complex URLs will be there, I'll tell you. Complex URLs can be like this, okay? Complex URL. It's not that much complex, just the naming is like that, okay? We can also come across some kind of complex URLs like https www.tutorialsninja.com/demo/abc/ okay, xyz.pdf. Clear, guys? This is a complex URL. This is a simple URL. Most of the URLs that we come across will look like this, okay? So this is a complex URL, whereas here /demo/abc/xyz.pdf and many other stuff will be there. Or here we can also write complex URL like, at the end I can write hash, okay? Hash MNO. Lot of elements are there in this URL. Okay. Lot of items are there in this URL. https://www.tutorialsninja.com/ this is an example one /demo/abc/xyz.pdf hash MNO. Got it, guys? This is a complex kind of URL. This is simple one. This is complex. Okay. Lot of things are there in this URL. And also URL also can have port number and parameters. Okay, we can also have the port number and parameters in the URL, guys. I'll tell you how the port number and parameters can be there in a URL. Okay, so URL having port number and parameters. URLs having port number and parameters. Okay. So it will be kind of lengthy. https://www.tutorialsninja.com : here port number will come I think 43. Okay. 443. Sorry. 443 slash demo slash abc slash then okay. So then yeah, we can have some parameters here. Slash city is equal to Hyderabad, and ampersand symbol. Topic is equal to API, let's say. And then after that, what is there? Hash XYZ. Hash XYZ. This is an example. Okay. This is another example, guys. Okay. This is another example. This particular URL has port number here. Colon 443 is a port number. And also it has some query parameters. City is equal to Hyderabad. The topic is equal to API. These are query parameters. So these are some basics of a URL, guys. How the URL. This is very important because with this knowledge we are going to learn API testing. Okay. In API testing also we have request URLs, right? We'll be using URLs. So going ahead, what I'm going to do in this sessions is I'll be covering a lot of stuff, guys. Okay. One by one, I'll be covering a lot of stuff. First, I'll be covering about this request URL that you generally use in the API request, right? Then I'll be explaining about what is base URL, what is an endpoint, what is a tail URL. Okay. What are the HTTP methods? What are the HTTP status code? These are all the elements related to the API request, right? Whenever you get an API request, how the API request will look like. Let's go to ChatGPT and find it out on sample API request. Okay. Give a sample developer documented API request given for software testers for testing. Let's see. You see, what does it contain? You see, method will be there. So here I'm going to cover about that methods. Okay. One section is methods I'll be covering here as a topic. Then request URL will be there. That's what I'm covering now, right? I'm covering about the URL topic. Then what else is there? Endpoint, tail URL, everything I will cover, what exactly they are. Then status codes. Generally, we'll get the status code as a result. Okay, when you hit this URL in the API, in the Postman tool or whatever it is, guys, we'll just get a response. Okay, so that response will have the status code. So all this information I'm going to cover now. This information will help you in understanding the APIs in a better way. Okay, so you'll have good knowledge of the things, each and every component of an API testing, where which will have request method, methods, then request URL, then we are going to see response codes, then we are going to see, you know, other stuff like, endpoints, base URL, tail URL, all those stuff. Okay, I'm going to cover here. First, I'm going to cover URL topic for you. So here also, if I can open the Postman tool, this URL I can provide in the Postman tool like this. Okay, whatever the URL I'm covering here, okay, I can be posting that in the Postman tool, something like this. Okay, so close this and click on plus symbol, and here whatever the URL I paste, right, that URL I'm talking about. Okay, if you go to request.in, you will find a lot of URLs, guys. For example, I'll go with one of the URL, list of users URL. Open this, copy this. This is a URL. This is a URL that I'm copy pasting here. https://request.in/API users. Okay, a lot of things are there, right? Page is equal to 2. Okay, if you have to understand each and every component of this request URL, whatever the concept I am covering now is very important for you, otherwise you will not understand. That is the reason I'm taking up this different components of a URL. Okay, you need to understand the different components of the URL, because in real time when you are working on API testing, different people in the team will be technically using terminologies they will be using to name some components of a URL, then you will get confused. Okay. So without that, you'll not be able to understand the conversation. So you should learn all this stuff now. Okay, examples we have seen anyhow. Simple URL, complex URL example, and optional port number and parameter URL also we have seen, right? Fine. Then next one, address of a, what is that? Path is asking me a question, port number of server connected with is asking. What does it mean, Path? Are you asking me a question? Do you want me to explain about the port numbers? This port number, yes, this is related to HTTPS protocol. HTTPS protocol will run at this port number of the server. Okay, 443 port number. You see, if you are thinking about port numbers explanation, right? Assume that there is a hotel. Okay, this is a hotel, guys. Every computer to be accessed remotely will use what, guys? If you want to access a another computer remotely, what is that you are going to use? IP address, right? Yes. This hotel is like a, yes, you are right, 100%. This hotel example is like an IP address. Okay. This hotel example is like an IP address. In this IP address, in this hotel, there will be several rooms. Okay. In this hotel, there will be several rooms. Okay. In this IP address, when you are accessing, if you are accessing this IP address means you are accessing the entire hotel. If you want to access a particular room in this hotel, what do you have to do? Every room is like a port number. Every room is like a port number. Default port number will be what? Generally, the default port number will be what? If you don't provide also, what will be the port number generally? If you're trying to access something and, using the application URL or something or IP address or something of a machine, and if you don't give any port number, what will be the default port number? Anyone know? What is the default port number? 8080. 8080 is the default port number. Whether you provide or not, 8080 is by default the port number. But here, when you are accessing some resource on the server using HTTPS protocol, okay, HTTPS protocol if you are using, generally the port number will be 443. Okay, everything will have a port number, guys. FTP will have a port number, SMTP will have a port number. Okay, so it's very in-depth topic, guys. Okay, so it's a very in-depth topic of the port numbers and all. Okay, if you really want to do some R&D on that, we can do it here. Okay, HTTPS port number. If you say, let's see what is the port number of HTTPS. Is it 443? Yes or no, guys? Is HTTPS port number is 443, yes or no? This port is used for secure communication over the internet using SSL TLS encryption. Okay, fine. What about 8080? 8080 port number. If I ask you about the what about 8080 port number, which is the default port number? Okay, which is the default port number, guys? Okay, yeah, let's dive into common port numbers and their uses. For FTP, the port number can be 20 or 21, file transfer protocol. Okay. So SSH, Telnet 23, SMTP 25, HTTP 8080, default port number that is HTTPS 443, IMAPS 993. Different things have different port numbers. Okay. Different things have different port numbers. Uh, Internet accessing a resource using IP address, accessing a machine using IP address and its port number. Okay. See web server, HTTPS, IP address of that particular, and then port number if you give run. Okay, so there are different concepts of the port number, guys. Okay, I don't have to go deep here, but mm, here you see MySQL is running on which port number? 3306 port number. Okay, FTP is on 21. So when we install, okay, the services. Okay, that's okay, guys. That's okay. Let's not go deep here. So hope you got some high level idea about the port numbers, right? Hope you got some high level idea about the port numbers, right? HTTPS will run on this port number, okay? Okay, so let me ask one final question anyhow to make the things even more clear. If you have installed, okay, if we install Jenkins, there is one software known as Jenkins, guys, okay? Jenkins software, Jenkins in our computer machine, then it will by default run at 8080 port number. Yes, that's correct. When you install Jenkins, by default it runs on port number. Okay. So whenever you install a software like Jenkins or something, right, the services of the Jenkins will be running at this particular port number. I gave you an example of the hotel room, right? For example, if you have installed in this computer machine, if you have installed Jenkins software, okay, if you have installed Jenkins software, Jenkins will be running at 8080. Jenkins services will be running at 8080 port number. So along with the IP address of the computer machine, you have to give the port number also to access. Okay. HTTPS colon double slash. Generally, if in the same machine, local host or from a remote machine, you have to give the IP address of that machine. Then colon 8080. You can access a Jenkins service running. Okay. You can access a Jenkins there. Okay. Okay. So what is the difference between let me find out something. Okay. Let's do some research here. Whenever you get some doubts, right, we have to do some research. Difference between HTTPS port number, okay, 443 and Jenkins port number 8080. Okay, let's see what it will do. Default port number for HTTPS, that is secure version of HTTP, is 443 is the default version. Web browsers and web servers, okay, web browsers and web servers to communicate securely using encryption. Okay, this encryption I'll tell you later. Encrypted traffic protects data integrity and all. So typical URL will be like this, and commonly use an alternative HTTP port, often by web applications during development like Jenkins. When you install Jenkins, Tomcat and other local servers, right, they will be running on the default port number of the HTTP. Okay, not secure by default. You must manually configure Jenkins to use HTTPS if you want encryption. Okay. So if you want to run Jenkins in a secured manner, right, securely over HTTPS, you need to change the port number of 8080 to A443. When you install Jenkins, you can mention a port number, guys, okay, and make the Jenkins run at this particular port number. So guys, simple words is that like this is IP address, this is a complete computer machine. In this computer machine, there will be different rooms kind of stuff. Okay, where each and every room is like a different port number where the things may run, services may run, or okay, all those stuff. For HTTPS, there is room already reserved in this hotel. For HTTPS, there is a room already reserved in this hotel with the port number 443. Okay. This is a server machine's IP address. Okay. This is IP address of the server machine. In the server machine, there is a room with 443 number, which is a port number, which is known for secured thing. Okay. HTTPS has a default, okay, pre-booked room known as 443. If you go with HTTP, it has another room known as 8080. Okay. Like the different services of different protocols or different softwares will run on different port numbers of a machine. That's what we need to understand at this point of time. Clear? Yes. Clear, right, guys? Okay, that's how the port numbers. If we can go deep, that is also very good. Okay, so we can also do some more R&D on the port numbers. At a high level, I gave you some information, guys. Okay, if you want to learn more about, okay, I want to learn more about port numbers. like 8080, 443, okay, etc. Just give me a second. Okay, from scratch and why they are required. Okay, if you do so, you will get a lot of information, guys, so that we can learn anyhow. It's a networking topic, guys. Okay, the port numbers is all about the networking topic, and it will define how the internet works. While internet is a hotel room, all the rooms inside that hotel room are like port numbers. Okay, so that's what is the analogy you have to take. Okay, IP address. They are also giving something. It's IP address is street address, port number is apartment name. Here I gave hotel, and hotel rooms. Okay, they gave different example. Okay. So when data is sent over the internet, it needs to know which computer IP address, okay, and which service on that computer. So when I say HTTPS, which service on the computer address, which port number 443 for HTTPS, okay. So like that, guys. You see HTTP 80 port or 8080, HTTPS 443, SMTP will use a 25 port number, okay. Fine. SSH will use port 22 like that. IP address to find the server, port 442 tell I am here for the HTTPS service. Okay. This HTTPS services will run at the 443 port number in that IP address containing machine. Able to hear me, guys? Guys, able to hear me? Still breaking? Is the voice still breaking? Okay.
Yes.
Hello? Hello, everyone.
Yes, I don't know. I cannot. I can. It's breaking sometimes. Yeah.
Now it is
You can hear
breaking?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What about other people? Are you able
Okay.
to hear me, guys? Still breaking?
No,
Okay.
now good.
Now good? Everyone?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it is breaking, it seems. Some people are saying, just type in the chat box, guys, if it is breaking or not. Okay. Now good, now good. Okay. Small temporary glitch may be there. That's okay. But if it is good now, that's great. Okay. We'll continue. Now it is good, right? Fine. So, guys, I was saying the same thing, guys, nothing much. You see here, hotel room in that, sorry, in hotel is the IP address of the computer machine or server machine. Port number is the place where the service of that particular is running. Okay. It's like a room number. Okay. So here also they gave one example. So IP address is like which computer machine. Okay. To locate the computer machine, we use IP address. Then on that computer machine having the IP address, which service on that computer, okay, which will define which service on that computer, which will define port number will define. Okay. HTTPS related services will run where? In that particular computer, in which port number HTTP services will run? HTTP services will run on which port number of this computer? Tell me, guys. 443. SMTP services will run on which port number of this computer? 25. Okay, like that. Got it right? Everyone clear, right? What is the meaning of port numbers and all? Okay. To in From which service of in which service area, the port number area of that computer machine, these things will run based on the protocols and all we can define. Okay, there are some default port numbers for different protocols. Okay, so before only we can know that which port number these things will be running and all. Okay, with that note we have to understand. Okay, HTTPS will run on 443. Here optionally if you provide colon 443, or if you don't provide also, by default HTTPS will run at 443 port number only. Okay, so in the URL you can mention the port number or not, that is up to you. Okay, so hope you all learned something about the port number. That is a good thing. Okay, so explore more about the port numbers, guys. I gave you some idea. Hope everyone is clear about the port numbers, right? Concept. IP address is like a computer machine. Okay, you can compare the computer machine with a hotel room, and port numbers are like the hotel rooms. Okay, in that computer machine, in which port number the services are running. Okay, that's the thing. Anyhow, let's move forward with that clarity that you got now. That's very important. All the things are important technically. So, what is the actual main purpose of the URL, guys? To locate a resource. Address of a URL is nothing but uniform resource locator which will contain the address of a given unique resource on the web. Yes or no? Guys, URL is nothing but full form is Uniform Resource Locator, whose purpose is to find the which contains the address of a given unique resource on the web. The resource can be an image, the resource can be an HTML page, the resource can be a JSON file, the resource can be an XML file, the resource can be a CSS doc, etc. etc. With the help of URL, we can find all these resources. Okay, URL will contain the address of any given unique resource on the web. Examples of the resources on the web are this one. Okay, let me show you one example of the resources, guys. I'll go to one application here, tutorialsninja.com/demo application. I'll go and here I'll inspect here. Okay, and go to the network tab and clear this stuff and just press enter here and see lot of requests will come. Okay, lot of requests will come. Each and every request will have a request URL, yes or no? Guys, when I press enter here, lot of requests will come. Every request will have a request API request URL will be there or not? What do you say? Will it have API request URLs? When I press enter here, some API request will be there, right? Each and every API request will have API request URL. Yes. Press enter. Lot of items came. You see, demo is one item, iPhone, some image is one item, like that many items came. If I click on this, you see, there is a request URL. There's a request URL, right? If I click on this, there's another request URL. If I close this, each and every request here, this demo is one request, this is another request, this is another request. You see, this is nothing but a URL, right? If I close this, you see, which type of, it's a HTML document, okay? This particular URL is referring to what on the internet? What type of resource on the internet is referring to? What type of resource this particular URL is referring to on the internet? Document means HTML document, okay? It is referring to an HTML document. What about the second request? It is referring to images, JPEG, PNG images. Other one is like, JavaScript file. This particular is referring to the Java. Okay, this particular URL is referring to JavaScript file. Okay, some other request URLs are referring to the style sheets. Okay, some are referring to the fonts, like that many things. Able to understand, guys? What is a URL now? URL will contain the address of a given unique resource on the internet. Okay, the resources can be, okay, address of which resources can be possible: images, HTML pages, whatever the document you said is nothing but the HTML pages, JSON files, XML files, CSS, and many more. Clear now? What is a URL is clear now? Guys, what is a URL is clear now? It contains the address of a given unique resource on the web. Okay, that is nothing but the URL. Okay. So, in simple words, it is a mechanism used by browsers to retrieve any published resource on the web or web server, whatever it may be. In simple words, URL is nothing but is a mechanism used by browsers to retrieve any published resource on the web, that is on the internet via the that is from the server, etc. Okay, so that is what is nothing but a URL. So hope you got some idea about the URLs now. Now let's understand the different components of the URL. Okay, when you break the URL into multiple parts, what are the different components will come? Let's understand them. Okay, different components of the URL. Different components of a URL. Okay, different components of a URL. What are the different components of a URL, guys? What are the different components of the URL? For example, if you take this particular URL, simple URL like HTTPS. Let's write everything. Let's write a detailed URL here. Otherwise, let me write a detailed URL: https colon double forward slash www dot tutorialsninja.com/demo. Okay. Then like def slash, okay, abc dot pdf question mark. After question mark, I'll write, some query parameters. I'll write location is equal to Hyderabad, and topic is equal to API. Okay. Then uh, hash, I'm just writing hash SAM. Okay. Let me see if I am have written in a proper way or not. Yeah, that looks good for me. Whatever the example I created is look okay. With that example, we can understand different components of with this simple. Okay, I forgot one thing. Okay, let me write it again. HTTPS. Okay, let me write it again. One component I was missing, so let me write it again. By looking at the above, I'll write it www.tutorials ninja.com slash. Okay, here after .com, I'll say 443 slash demo. That was I'm missing. def abc.pdf question mark location is equal to HYD, and I'll make it short bit, and topic is equal to API hash SAM. Okay, SAMP SAMP. Okay, like that I have written. So I'll remove this part. Now, this is one example of the URL which has all the components in it. Okay, this is one of the example of the URL which has different components in it. It's a complex URL, even having the port number, and a lot of other stuff. Okay, so each and every component of this URL we are going to learn now. First part is, what is this part called as? What is this part called as, guys? Anyone? What is this part called as? What do you call this part? Protocol. 100% right. Proto Protocol. Okay. Everyone type in the chat box. It's called as a protocol. You can also call it as a scheme, but mainly you can call it as a protocol. Otherwise, you can also call it as a scheme. Scheme or protocol. Mainly protocol you can call. Okay. Most of the people call this HTTPS as a protocol. You see here, red color border I give. The relevant one I am writing here in the red color. Okay. Protocol. You can also call it as a scheme. Next one is, next one that we need to understand here is this .com. Okay. This .com, guys. Okay. This .com I am going to cover. What is this .com? .com, okay, is nothing but the top level domain. Okay. .com is nothing but the top level domain. Or else, yeah. So we can do another thing. Otherwise, we can say this entire thing is nothing but a domain. Okay. This entire thing is nothing but a domain. In this domain, again, multiple parts are there. Okay. This blue color thing is nothing but the domain. This is a protocol, this is a domain. Okay, this is a protocol, this is a domain. In this domain, if you go with this .com, it is called as top level domain. Okay, it is called as top level domain. It's nothing but a top level domain. Then, then we have the next item, that is second level domain. Okay, I'll give different one. This is nothing but, sorry, why it's not coming? This is nothing but second level domain. Okay, this is nothing but the second level domain. Okay, this entire blue thing is called as a domain. In that domain, this is a top level domain, this is a second level domain, and this www is called as a subdomain. Okay, this is another item, that is, this is called as a subdomain. This is called as a subdomain. Okay, this is called as a subdomain. You see, this is a protocol, red color thing. Okay, HTTPS colon double forward slash is nothing but a protocol. Okay, so protocols can be not only, whenever you deal with URLs, right? Protocol not only will be HTTP or HTTPS, it can be SMTP, it can be FTP, and any others. Clear, everyone? Here in the URL, not always you can see HTTPS protocol. In place of the HTTPS protocol, you can also see HTTP protocol. Sometimes you will see SMTP protocol. Sometimes you will see FTP protocol. Is that clear? What type of protocols can be there in the URL is clear for everyone? Guys, protocol is not always HTTPS. Protocol can be HTTP, protocol can be HTTPS, protocol can be SMTP in the URL, protocol can be FTP in the URL, etc. in the URL. Lot of different type of protocols will be there. Protocol always, URL always start with a protocol, any of this kind of protocol. Most of the famous protocol is what? Out of all this protocol, most of the URLs will be there in which protocol? HTTPS protocol. Now tell me, what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, guys? Tell me. Tell me the difference between HTTPS and HTTP. S stands for what? HTTPS is secure, right? Okay. HTTPS is secure. HTTP is not secure. HTTP is not secure. HTTPS is secure. Okay. You are right. Okay. So there are two items. One is HTTP, other one is HTTPS. Which one is secured? This is secured. This is secured protocol. This is not secured. HTTP is not secured. So what does S stands for here? What does S stands for? In HTTPS, what does S stands for? Secure? Is that right? S stands for secure. Is that correct? Let's find it out. Safe. What does S in HTTPS stands for? What does S in HTTPS stands for? Let's see whether it is secured or any other stuff. Yes, the S in HTTPS stands for secure. Okay. Okay. HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay. Secure. Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure. It means the communication between the client and the server, okay, is encrypted using protocols like SSL, Secured Socket Layer, or more commonly now TLS. Okay. What does it mean? What is all these things mean, guys? Okay. Yes, definitely whatever you said is 100% right. S stands for secure. Okay. Okay. S stands for what, guys? S stands for secure. Am I audible, guys? Am I audible? Am I audible? Yes. Okay. So here S stands for what, guys? S stands
Yes.
for
Yeah.
secure. S stands for secure. Okay. S stands for secure. Now, how the security will come? Because of what? The security will come. What is the reason behind the security of this HTTPS? Because of what? HTTPS is secure. Some certificates, security certificates. That security certificates are either SSL or TLS. Okay. What is the latest one in this? SSL is the older one. TLS is the latest one. In the TLS versions are also there. Okay. Latest. Latest is what? TLS. Okay. SSL certificate, TLS certificates. Okay. Here S stands for secure. Whenever you see this HTTP protocol having the S kind of word, secure means it is using a security certificate. Okay. Okay. That security certificate can be an SSL certificate. In the olden days, we used to use SSL certificate. Now, lot of latest certificates came into the market. SSL is now older one or outdated. Now we have TLS certificates, which is okay. It's the latest ones. Okay. In TLS also a lot of versions are there. Okay. If you go here, you can see. Okay. So what happens in real time is, let's say this is your client where the browser is there, this is your server and all. A request will be sent to the server and the server will process the request and send it back to the browser inside this machine. That's what generally happens. But let's say you are sending some information. Let's say you're sending some credit card information, credit card number, PIN, OTP, and all you are sending, for example, here. All this information is traveling over the request, right? All this information is traveling over the request to the server here. From the client, they're traveling. If this particular application is using HTTP protocol, is this information that is traveling over the request is secured? Guys, tell me. Is the information that is traveling to the server from this client browser and all, this information is secured now? No. It is not traveling via secure channel. What is happening here? Raw as it is, the information is going. What will happen if the information is going as it is on the internet over the request using this HTTP protocol? There are some tools that hackers can use. Okay, there are some tools that hackers can use. They can track this request. They can, you know, on the internet, they can track this request. And when they are tracking the request, they can find all this information. They can find all this information. You see, have you heard about this thing? You go to a airport and you see they will be giving some free Wi-Fi. Guys, in the airport, they will be giving some free Wi-Fi, right? So go to the airport where they are giving free Wi-Fi. Okay. Yes, railway stations, airports, and all, they are giving free Wi-Fi's, right? There you go. Open a website having HTTP protocol, not HTTPS. Open a website known as HTTP protocol, okay, website, and you give all the sensitive information there. If there is a hacker at that point of time nearby you, okay, That hacker can know what type of information you have sent. Your sensitive information can be, okay, can be brought to the hacker. Okay. The hacker can, what do you call that word, guys? Eavesdrop or something? Eavesdropping, right? I just don't remember the word. I'm just guessing that as eavesdropping. Okay. What is eaves? Yeah. Dropping. Let's search this. It will give you some information. Yes. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping means someone is hearing your private communication. You see, you and your friend are, let's say you are and your friend. Okay. You and your friend. Okay. There is a room in which you are talking to one of your friend. Okay. Okay, someone who is not part of your private conversation is standing here at the wall and putting his or her ear on the wall and trying to listen to your conversations. Okay, your private conversations are no more secure. This guy is actually eavesdropping on you. Okay, listening your, this is called as eavesdropping. So similarly here, what happens whenever a request will be sent from the client machine to the server machine, this information can be, sometimes most of the times will be secure information, and if it is going via HTTP protocol in the raw format, the data will be sent to the server, and if any hacker is there, hacker can eavesdrop using all the tools and all. Hacker can eavesdrop and get all your information and take advantage of your information. That's the problem. But what if the website is using HTTPS protocol? What will happen in this case then? Tell me. If the if the website is using, instead of HTTP, if a website is using secured protocol where SSL or TLS certificates are used, because of that, some, what will happen because of these certificates? Because of the security certificates like SSL or TLS, okay, what will happen? What is advantage? Tell me, guys, what is advantage? Encryption will happen. Encryption. Okay, encryption will happen, guys. This information will get encrypted before it is sent in a raw format to the server, right? From the client machine itself, it will be converted into some kind of code that even though hacker can get your information, hacker need to decode it. Okay, instead of sending ABC, instead, while if, for example, if you are sending ABC sensitive information, that ABC will be converted into something like this. Will the hacker will be able to decode this code? Can he get ABC out of this? May or may not be possible, but it will take some time. Hacker may use some, still can use some tools or big server machines to decode this particular thing, but it may takes lot of time. Okay? Getting my point, guys? What is the power of the encryption? We are delaying the eavesdropping process of the hacker. By encryption, we are not saying that our data is completely secure. What we are saying, because of the encryption, we are delaying the work of the hacker. Hacker may have to spend days, years, months. Okay, kind of. We are delaying his work of decoding process. Okay, so getting my point, guys? Here encryption will happen, and the same information, once it reaches to the server, it will get decrypted. Sorry, decrypted. Okay, encryption and decryption, and this is all happening because of this security certificates in the HTTPS protocol like SSL or TLS. Nowadays, TLS 2.0 something is there, which is the latest. Okay, so if the certificates are there in the website, the information that is sent from the website cannot be it can be eavesdropped still, but the hacker will get this kind of code, which hacker need to do a lot of work in decoding that, and it will take some years and months that hacker will drop off. Okay, that's what is the concept of HTTPS protocol over HTTP. So when you are performing API testing of the request and all, if you see HTTP or HTTPS, you should have this understanding, guys. Okay, in which situations API request should have HTTP or HTTPS, you have to go and talk to your developer. Is it okay or not, kind of stuff. Okay, should be aware of that. Okay, clear, everyone? Everyone clear with this? Sometimes we'll test this URL like this, HTTP and then press enter. Okay, sometimes we can test this as part of API testing. We'll convert this HTTPS to HTTPS and press enter. Okay, what is happening? We have to see. What is happening? We have to see. Is it working or not? Whether the developer need to allow it or not, we have to decide. Okay, so everything is a testing, guys. Okay, all permutations and combinations will test. Anyhow, let's go down, and we are. So one protocol I have covered here, the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, and A stands for secure, and it is using security certificates, and like SSL, TLS. Nowadays, latest ones are TLS 2.0. Okay, such kind of, they will encrypt your income information before sending it to the server as a request on the internet. Okay, and so that the hacker can still eavesdrop on your information request, but cannot get in information in the raw format. Rather, the hacker has to spend some months or years to decode it. Okay. So by the time our task will be done. Okay. Then next one is SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, FTP, file transfer protocol. Like different type of protocols can be there in the components of the URL, guys. Second thing is a domain, guys. Second thing is a domain. Domain is like the entire thing, www.tutorialsninja.com. Okay. The domain can be broken down into multiple parts like this. What are the multiple parts the domain can be broken down? This .com is called as a top level domain. Okay. Top level domain need to be compulsory com only, or it can be anything else. It should be always com. Top level domain need to be always com, or any other versions are there. Type in the chat box, guys. What are the different possibilities in place of the com? .in for India, it's .in. For US, .us. For UK, .uk. Okay, .org organizations. Okay, yes. .net, .info. Many are there, right? So those are nothing but top level domains. In the URL, you can have different type of domains. Top level domains like .com, .net, .in, .inc, .org, okay, .us, UK, .qa. Lot of things can be there, okay? These are called as top level domains. And this is called as a second level domain. The actual name of the domain is called as a second level domain. And here, www part, okay? Not www part. So I was wrong here. Just give me a second. Okay. Uh, Yeah, maybe www part can be something here, guys. This part can be called as subdomain. Sometimes subdomain will be like this, okay? What is subdomain? Have you seen something like, trainings.qfox.com? Like this, okay? Here, sorry. Okay, 1 minute. Let me do one thing. Let me cut this part and let me write something here, okay? Here I'll write uh, QA dot, okay? QA dot I'll write and I'll change it to blue color, black color. This QA is nothing but a subdomain, guys. Okay, QA dot. So I'll show you some subdomains here. Here, if you come here and say trainings dot intenshala or mulesoft.com. Okay, let's go to intenshala. Okay, trainings dot intenshala.com. Can you see this, guys? Here, trainings is nothing but a subdomain. Okay, this is a this second level domain or main domain, and this is a subdomain. Okay, trainings dot. Otherwise, qa.intershala.com, trainings courses.intershala.com, offers.inter jobs.intershala.com, like that. Some websites will be there. The trainings or something is called as a subdomain, guys, generally. Okay. Okay. I also have a doubt here. www.qfox.com is www is a subdomain. Can we call it? Yeah. Okay. So www.qfox.com and trainings.qfox.com are both www and trainings are subdomains is the question I have. Okay. www, if you have www.tutorialsninja.com, the www is a subdomain. Okay. Trainings.qfox.com, here trainings is also called as a subdomain. Okay. Fine. Shop.example.com, blog.example.com. Okay. Here either www or those things, both are same. So in that case, I'll just go it back, or here it can be trainings dot also can be there. Okay. Here trainings also can be there, trainings dot, and I'll just mark this. Both are subdomains only. Okay. Here in place of the www, it can be trainings also. I'll just connecting here. Okay. It can be www. Okay. It can be trainings dot. Okay. It can be anything. Both are called as subdomains. Okay. So top level domain, second level domain, subdomains, and here this is a port number, right? This is a port number. Let's go with the next one. This part is clear. Port numbers. Port numbers are optional. Port numbers are not compulsory, guys. They are optional. Okay. Port numbers are optional. I don't know which color I need to choose. I'll take this orange color here for now. This is a port number, okay? So this is nothing but the port number. Different components of a URL, okay? This is nothing but the port number. Then what is the next item of this different components of this URL, and this port number is optional. And the next item that I'm going to cover here is I'll take this pink color for now. And here, this is a path. This part is a path, guys, okay? This is nothing but the path. Slash demo slash df. That means on the server, in the demo folder, inside that another def folder, we have this resource available, okay? This pink color is nothing but the path, okay? This pink color is nothing but the path. Then the next one. Here, this is nothing but the resource. This part is nothing but the resource. Okay, this is nothing but the resource. Okay, this abc.pdf is nothing but the resource. It can be image or it can be PDF file. It can be HTML document, .html, okay, .cs, okay, CSS. It can be anything. Then next one, after the question mark symbol, okay, this location is equal to Hyderabad and the topic is equal to API are nothing but query parameters. They are nothing but query parameters. These are nothing but query parameters. These are called as query parameters. These are called as query parameters. Okay. Then what else I can take? I'll take this one. I think this one is not covered yet. And this part. Okay. Hash samp kind of stuff is there, right? It's called as a fragment. Okay. It's called as a fragment. Fragment. Clear, everyone? You see, HTTPS is called as a protocol, and okay, this blue color thing, entire thing is called as a domain. That domain can be broken down into top level domain is come in and all those stuff. Tutorials Ninja is nothing but a second level domain, and www or trainings dot whatever is called as subdomain. And here 443 is a port number. This path of the resource. This is a path of the resource, and this real resource is resource. And here yellow color one. Okay, location is called Hyderabad, and extra information you are passing, right? That is called as a query parameters. And the last one hash samp is called as a fragment. Okay, this fragment is for what purpose, guys? What is the purpose of this fragment? Anyone know what is the reason we have to give fragment, this kind of fragment here? Anyone know what is the reason for the fragment? Hash kind of stuff. Anyone know what is the reason of the fragment? Why we have to use fragment here in the URL? Why we have to use fragment in the URL, guys? Tell me. Guys, why we have to use fragment here? Anyone know what is the reason of the fragment? No one has any idea on this? Have you never seen this hash? Yes, to point to exact section of the page. To point to the specific section or exact section of the page. I'll show you one example, guys, so that you will understand. You go to this website, I'll go to one article, guys. Uh, I think this is the one. I don't know whether that is the one or not. No, this is not the one. Some articles will be there. Yeah, where is the mobile testing? Yes, this is a mobile testing article. Let's go to the mobile testing article, guys. This is the article here. So there are some table of contents kind of stuff, right? For example, if I click on this splash screen. When I click on this link on this website page, this link will not take you to another website page. Rather, this link will take you to the same page, some section of the same page it will take automatically. Okay, just observe the URL here first, guys. Observe the URL here. Do you have any fragment now? No, there is no fragment here. Now what I'll do here is I'll just click on the splash screen. You see, slash hash ss. It has taken you to the splash screen section of the same page. This is the same page, guys. Okay, it's taking you to the whatever the link you click, right, it will be taking you to that particular fragment section of the page. Mobile gestures. It will take you to the mobile hash mg is coming. You see hash mg. Clear now what is fragment means? Clear? To navigate to particular section of the page. Okay, is called as a fragment. In the URL, the fragment will be represented with hash. Yes, save scrolling time. That's correct. Everyone clear with the fragment part? Everyone clear with the fragment part? So in whatever the request you are providing in the API request you are providing the Postman tool, it may contain all these kind of components, guys. Okay. Whatever the API request you are going to enter into the Postman tool for testing, right? That API request may contain any of these items. So we should be aware of these things. This is a very important terminology we have to use, guys. Whenever you are reporting the defects related to API testing and all, if you don't know these terminologies, can you report the defect properly, guys? Guys, if you find some issue while testing some of the components of this URL and you have to report a defect, if you don't know these terminologies, what is this called as, what is this called as, what is this called as, can you report the defects on API testing properly? No, right? That's the reason this topic is important. Okay? That's the reason. You see, that's the reason this topic is important. We have to have the terminology. Okay? We need to understand what exactly is what. Here, what about this query parameters, guys? What is this query parameters? This fragment is now clear. Resource is clear. Path is clear. Okay? The path here till here it will access a server. This is a server URL. Okay, this is server address. After server address, in that server, demo folder, df folder, under that resource is there. Okay, you're accessing one resource which is there in one folder in that folder, and the resource is there. Okay, on the server. Not direct. This resource is not directly available on the server. This resource is available in the demo folder under the df folder of the server. Under that, it is available. Okay, so this is a path. This is a port number. Port number is optional. Okay, each and every component you need to understand and know what exactly they need to be called terminology wise. And here location is equal to Hyderabad and topic is equal to API. These are called as query parameters. The extra information. Okay, the extra information you are giving here. So for example, you are searching for a product. For example, you are searching for a product, guys. Okay, let me go here and search for a product. Okay. Yeah, to access specific resource, we have to use query parameter. Yes, maybe that's correct also. Okay. You see, that's correct also. If I search for HP here and click on search button, in the just observe the URL, guys. In the URL, what is query parameter is getting added here? Is a query parameter getting added here? Yes or no? Okay. This is a query parameter, guys. Search is equal to HP is getting this query parameter is added. So when we, for example, I'll go to this application and I go to this area for this purpose. Like when you type HP here, it is adding the HP query parameter. Search is equal to HP query parameter. What if I go to this login page and enter some credentials like this? Will these details like email address and password will be added in the query parameter of the URL? Like HP entered into the search box field has been added into the query parameter in the URL, right? Will this email address and password also will be entered as a query parameter in this URL? What do you say? Yes or no? Why no? Why no, guys? Why no? What is the reason why this email address and password should not be added as a query parameter in the URL? What do you think? Why do you think they should not be added? Why the HP can be added? Why not this email address and password? Security reasons, right? Everything cannot be added as a query parameters always in the request URL. In API request URL, if the information is not sensitive information, that can be added. Okay, but here click on login button. Just see the URL here on the top. You see anywhere you have seen the request URL anywhere, guys. Anywhere can you see the request the query parameters here? No, not everything can be sent as a query parameter. Okay, depending on the type of the information that we are passing to the server. Okay, depending on the type of the information that we are passing to the server. Okay, sometimes that information can be in the form of query parameter while sending it to server. Some information cannot be sent in the form of query parameters to the server. The problem here is the security problem. Okay, hope you are able to understand all the stuff. Right now you are able to understand the terminology and all the stuff. It is very important terminology, guys. Understanding the API request is nothing but a URL, guys. API request is nothing but a URL, and we need to understand different components of URL because we are going to perform API testing. And if you don't know this terminology, you cannot communicate well in your company. Even you cannot report the defects properly in your company when you perform API testing. Okay, that is the reason all this information you should have the idea about. Okay, this looks a theoretical topic, but this is very important. This is a game changer actually. Okay, fine. Next, hope everyone is clear now. Role of query parameters in a URL. Role of query parameters in a URL for passing data to the server. Okay, what is the role? If you want to pass some extra data to the server, if you want to pass some along with the API request, if you are sending some API request, if you are hitting a API request to the server, along with that API request, if you want to send some data, then you can pass the data to the server in the form of query parameters. If that particular data that you are sending to the server is not sensitive data. Clear guys? Why query parameters is clear? To pass the data to the server. Okay, with the help of query parameters, we can pass the data to the server. This is the reason why we have to use query parameters. Got it? Along with this API request, if you want to pass some data to the server, then we have to use query parameters. You can use multiple query parameters also, guys. If you observe this URL, how many query parameters are there in this? How many query parameters are there in this? One or two? Two are there. What is the first one? Location is equal to Hyderabad. Second one is topic is equal to API. How they are combined? When there are multiple query parameters, how to combine these multiple query parameters in the URL? Using which symbol?
With
Ampersand
and
symbol.
symbol. And the
Yes. Ampersand symbol we have to use. Okay. This is what. You see, a lot of people get confused why my API requests have this query parameters and all. Now, if you know the basics of URL, now is it easy for you to understand what is the purpose, why you are hitting the URL like this and all? Even guys, when I have performed API testing in my company, right? When I have performed API testing in one of the project in my company, right? I was not aware of this, why we are using query parameters. I was getting some document from the developers blindly and I was using that, okay? I didn't ask a question to the developer, right? Why we have to use query parameters. If you don't know these basics or fundamentals, how can you understand the stuff? Getting my point, guys? Clear? How much important each and every component is? Just take my own example, guys. I was hitting a lot of API requests to the server. I was testing that, but I was getting confused. You see, a lot of sections will be there in the API, headers will be there, query parameters will be there, a lot of things will be there. If you don't have these basics, and if you are blindly putting this API request and testing it, can you test them with a proper mind? Can you get proper ideas how to test? No. You need to understand why we have to use, what is the reason, and all those stuff. Okay. That is the reason we have to understand the different components of URL as an important part before you start performing the API testing. Okay. So with this, I think everyone is clear with this topic, guys. Everyone is clear with this topic. Guys, everyone is clear with this topic now. Great. Superb. Okay. Hope you have went to the next level today in API testing because of this topic. Okay. So I'll be posting this notes here. You can take it from there. Okay. Okay. Then next. So, okay. This is also done. So do I have to share this or different components of URL? Okay. I'll share no matter what. I'll try to share this kind of stuff, guys. Okay. Okay. There is some problem here. I should know. I'll be sharing this part. Here question mark should be there. Okay. Here you see whenever the query parameters will start, right? If you see this example also, whenever the query parameters will start, okay, after this resource or URL, there is one symbol. What is that symbol? What is the symbol here? Before the query parameter started, question mark symbol should be there. Okay. That should, here I was doing that mistake. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I have to remove this. Here, forward slash should not be there. Okay. As per the required things, question mark should be there here. Okay. Question mark should be there. Question mark will be there. Okay. That's what you need to understand. Okay. Now it's good. I'll be sharing all this information as notes in the Telegram group. Okay. Just give me a second. So next also important things are there. I'll be covering about something known as next topic is everyone type in the chat box. The next topic endpoints, base URL, and tail URL. Three items you have to type in the chat box. Endpoint, base URL. So what is the question mark? Everyone is writing question mark there. What is the reason? Okay, sorry. I asked it right. Yeah, question mark symbol, right? Sorry. Yeah, okay. No, ignore that thing. So write everyone type in the chat box endpoint, base URL, and tail URL. Three items. Endpoint, base URL, and tail URL. These are important. Okay. Endpoint, base URL, tail URL. Endpoint, base URL, and tail URL. IP address of a computer machine is like a hotel. Port numbers are like rooms in the hotel. Port numbers are like rooms in the hotel. IP address is okay is like a hotel. Okay. And port numbers are like room numbers in the hotel. IP address is like a hotel. Okay. This is computer. Okay. And fine. These are the ports. These are the ports. I just gave some clues and all this here. That's okay. So this is another one I covered here today. Yeah. Next one. Once this is posted into the Telegram group, I'll go with the endpoints, base URL, and tail URL. Okay. Those are the next terminologies we have to understand. Okay. So I have some notes here, but the notes are not correct, guys. Okay. Let me delete these notes. These are not correct. Let me delete these notes. I'll post other notes there. Okay. So some wrong information was there that was covered earlier. Fine. That's okay. Now I'll cover the proper information for you. So I'm going to cover about endpoint, endpoint, and other one is base URL. Other one is tail URL. Okay, if I have to give an example of an endpoint, it will be like this: https://regress. Okay, I'll take this real example. I'll go to this website. You know this website, right? Regress.in. Where is that regress.in? So here in this regress.in, I'll take this one. Okay, I'll take this URL. This entire URL is generally called as an endpoint, guys. Okay, this entire URL is generally called as an endpoint. This is an endpoint, guys. Okay, this is an endpoint. This entire URL is called as an endpoint. The full URL is generally called as an endpoint. Okay. In that, what is the base URL, guys? In this particular endpoint, which is hitting the required endpoint at the server side. Okay. This is called as a API request. So people will call this as API request or endpoint, guys. Okay. So terminology they will use for endpoint is like that. Okay. And the next one is what, guys? The next one is base URL. The next one is nothing but the base URL. What is the base URL in this part? https://regress.in is a base URL. This part is called as a base URL. This part is called as a base URL. Okay. Regress.in is a base URL. Then what is a tail URL? Endpoint minus base URL is called as a tail URL. Endpoint minus tail URL is called as a, sorry, endpoint minus base URL. Okay, control Z. Tail URL is equal to endpoint, which is full URL. Endpoint is nothing but the full URL minus base URL. Base URL is a, okay. So in this endpoint, which can keep changing? Most of the times, which part will keep changing, guys? Which part will keep changing in the endpoint?
Tail URL.
Tail URL will change or base URL will change? Just think.
Yeah.
Base or tail? Which one will change in this endpoint generally? Most of the cases.
Tail.
Everyone is saying tail, but I'll say base. I'll say base, guys. You see, if you are working in a project, okay, this address will keep changing. You see, this is a real application. That's okay. Whenever you are working in performing testing in the company and all, okay, staging one application they'll give, stage two application they will give, some different URLs they will give, right? In that URL, base URL will change, right? Getting my point, guys? Tail URL will be same. Tail URL will be same. This part will be same, but this one may change. It will be regress 1 dot in sometimes, regress 2 dot in sometimes. Yes, if different environments, it will change, right? That's what I'm saying. Okay, I'm asking about environment changes only. Okay, in case of environmental changes, which URLs will change? In case of environmental changes, which URL will change, guys? The possibility of base URL only will change. Okay, The base URL will change, tail URL generally won't change. Okay? Tail URL will not generally change. In when you are working in projects, when environments keep changing and the client for different environments, different URLs will be there. Okay, one day you will be testing on same application on using different URL. Another day you will be testing the same application using a different URL. For that base URL generally changes, not the tail URL. Okay, so that's the reason. That's the reason. Okay, that's the reason when you receive some documentation from the developers for API testing documentation, when you receive, will they provide the endpoint fully? Guys, whenever they mention endpoint in the documentation, whenever you receive some API documentation, suppose you got API documentation here, okay? What they will do here, they'll simply say base URL is equal to, okay? They'll not give the base URL maybe, okay? The base URL keep changing, right? So in whatever the API request they will give, what they will do, they will write endpoint. For this endpoint, you do testing. In that endpoint, what they will give, in that endpoint, they will give the tail URL slash API slash users question mark page is equal to. Now a lot of people will get confused. Is this the endpoint? They will think. This is not the endpoint, guys. Endpoint is full URL is nothing but the endpoint. But for documentation purpose, okay, here what they are saying when the developers are writing this documentation, they are assuming that what is the endpoint. When this particular thing will become an endpoint, when you combine this thing with a base URL, this will become an endpoint. That's what is their analogy. Got it, guys? Clear? So you need to remember one thing, endpoint is a full URL, but developers while documenting the endpoint in your API documentation or Swagger documentation or whatever it is, they may not always give you the base URL plus endpoint. They will give you the tail URL as a endpoint. Okay. Then you should think that this particular endpoint should be combined with the base URL to form a real endpoint. Okay. So hope you got the idea, right? What I am saying. In reality, endpoint is a full URL. Full request URL is called as an endpoint. Okay. In that base URL is this part up to request.in. That is a base URL. Under the tail URL is nothing but the what is the tail URL? Tail URL is equal to endpoint minus base URL. That is nothing but in this example it is slash API slash users question mark page is equal to 2 is actually the tail URL. This is the tail URL. Okay. But developers while documenting the API documentation, they will give the tail URL as an endpoint. You should not get confused, okay? And think that this is an endpoint, okay? You have to assume that endpoint need to be combined with the base URL, then it will become an endpoint, okay? Though they write like that, it's not an endpoint in reality. Got it? Clear, everyone? That what is the difference between endpoint, base URL, tail URL is clear for everyone? Everyone clear with this topic? Is it clear for you? What is endpoint? What is base URL? What is tail URL and all? Okay. Now you should be able to answer. Some people will be asking questions in the interview. What is the difference between endpoint and tail URL? They'll ask. What is the difference between the endpoint and tail URL? They will ask. Yeah, you will get to know. You see, whatever the application you are testing, you will get to know, right? You see, when you are working in a project, easily you can know the base URL, right? Yeah, they will give the endpoint. They may not, you see, for developers, while writing the endpoint, their intention is this one. But, okay, developers while writing the API documentation, when they are specifying endpoint, their intention is this one. They cannot write this fully. Why? Because application URL keeps changing, right? They cannot modify the API documentation for you every time and give you a separate API documentation, right? That's the reason they will write endpoint as this one. But they want to write the full URL. The developers want to write the full URL under the endpoint. That is their intention. But the problem with that approach for the developers is that if they put the full URL, tomorrow this URL changes, you will be testing on a wrong URL, right? Wrong base URL. That's the reason they'll provide endpoint as this one. You have to assume that this need to be combined with base URL. How you will get the base URL? In whatever the project you are working, you will get the base URL, right? Clear, Narendra Prasad? In whatever the project when you are working, it's very easy to get the base URL, right? In the interview, no. You should not say that. In interview, you have to say full URL is the endpoint only. In interview, you have to say, don't worry about this part. In interview, your answer should be this one. Full URL, full API request URL is the endpoint. Base URL is this portion of the endpoint. Tail URL is endpoint minus base URL is nothing but this is what is the interview answer. This is only for API documentation and I already cleared you. Yes. Why? Developers will write like this, but their intention is to write the full URL. They cannot write under the endpoint. So they will write only the tail URL as an endpoint. So we should not get confused, I am saying. Using this, by looking at the API documentation, you should not get a feeling that this is an endpoint. Okay, that's what is I'm saying. Yeah, got it right? So whenever you go through the API documentation, you may get confused. I told you that endpoint means full URL. Now in the documentation, endpoint is a tail URL. So you'll get confused, right? Okay, sir has said this one and now it is there. So he has explained wrong. You should not, this will confuse you. That's why I'm saying. Even though developers put tail URL under the endpoint, we should ignore this part, okay? And endpoint is nothing but the full URL. Base URL is this part of the URL, and tail URL is endpoint minus base URL. That is this part, API page users. Now clear everyone? Clear everyone? In interviews, how to answer this question is clear. What is an endpoint? What is a base URL? What is a tail URL? Endpoint in simple words is full URL. Endpoint in simple words. Okay. If you have to answer this question in the interview, endpoint is nothing but the full URL. Base URL is nothing but up to some dot com or dot in. Okay. Tail URL is after dot com or dot in or dot whatever it is. Okay. Remaining part, path and resource location, query parameters, everything will come under tail URL. Okay. Clear? Everyone type in the chat box. Everyone type C in the chat box if this concept is clear. If it is still not clear, you can ask me the question. Okay, great. That's great. Superb. Superb, guys. Okay, fine. Okay, next. This part is also done. Oh, sorry. Control Z, Control Z. Can I get it? No. I think they are here, right? I'll do one thing. Here some notes I have removed, right? I need to add. There's a reason I have got it back. Okay. Uh, right click. Here I'll write endpoint and base URL. Okay. I'll paste the image here. And this is 22, I think so. The notes number is 22. Just have to have a number, right? Otherwise, it will be going wrong. Okay. And I'll create one more that is 23. Though image is same, but I have to repeat it because otherwise you'll keep searching for number. Okay. 23. 23 dot tail URL. Okay. Tail URL. The same image I'll put. Okay. This fine. So both the documents are same, but just for the reference number, I have given that. Okay. Endpoint base URL, tail URL. Fine. YAML files. I have worked with YAML files, guys. Okay, YAML, right? I have used in Docker and containers kind of part. I have used this YAML files. They're similar to XML kind of stuff, guys. Okay, they will provide the configurations and all. Okay, the full form I don't know. I don't know the full form, but I have used it actually. YAML, YAML files. Yet another markup language. Yeah, like XML or something. It's another kind of thing. Okay. It will look something like this. Okay, it will look something like this. I have used this in containerization, Kubernetes. You see here, Kubernetes is nothing but Docker containerization, right? Okay, orchestration platform. Kubernetes is an orchestration platform for Docker containerization. Okay, more readable than JSON or XML files. Easier to write manually. Supports comments and all. Okay, like this we can create the YAML files. Whenever you are configuring Selenium grid with Docker or Kubernetes, right? These YAML files will come to use. Okay, why you are asking me that question, Venkat? What was the reason? Did you get that question in the interview or so? Venkat, what was the reason why you are asking that particular question to me? Like what is YAML or YML files? Okay, YAML, YAML. Just want to know the full form, okay? Stands for Yet another markup language. Is that correct? Ent markup language is the latest one, it seems. Okay. So today YAML stands for YAML Ent Markup Language. YAML. YAML Ent Markup Language is a current and current expression. It's not, it was olden thing. Okay. Ashish, whatever you are suggesting is a older name. Now the latest one is YAML Ent Markup Language, it is saying. Okay. Fine. Anyhow, let's not worry about that when it is out of scope for us now. Whenever we deal with that in the Docker containers, we'll explore more about that. For now, we can ignore that. Okay. So, any relevant questions, guys? Any relevant questions regarding that? Any relevant questions? Today, I covered different components of the URL. What is an endpoint based URL? Lot of terminology, important terminology I covered today, guys. And whenever you are working with API documentation, you will see this endpoints and all those stuff. Okay, you should not get confused. They look like tail URL, but they are not real endpoints. Okay, and endpoints are full URLs. Base URL is the initial part of the URL, and after the initial part .com part, that is called as a tail URL. That's what is the knowledge you should have. And different components of the URL, you should have an idea, clear cut idea, so that you can report the defects on the API testing very well. So yeah. Okay, okay, got it. So it's related to APIs in that case. Okay, fine. Yeah, in JSON also we'll get something, right? We'll get in different formats like JSON, XML, and all different formats. You'll get those things. Yeah, that's okay. Fine. Okay, then next, YAML files are used in APIs. Let's see. Defining and documenting them most notably in tools like OpenAPI, formerly Swagger. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's where it is there. Whatever the Venkat is saying is somewhat related to the APIs. That's a good thing, Venkat. Okay, good that you have shaded here. How YAML is used in APIs. API specification, OpenAI Swagger. YAML is used to write the structures of the RESTful APIs in a clear, readable format like OpenAPI info and all those stuff, paths and all those stuff. Okay, then for a YAML API, tools can auto-generate client-server documentation. Okay. YAML API definitions are used in tools like Postman, Swagger, and all. Why YAML for APIs? Easier to read and write than JSON. Comments are allowed. Clear minimal syntax for complex structures. Okay. See how to convert YAML to JSON for XMLs. So again, we need to convert that. A lot of information is there, guys. Okay. No, I will not be explaining that part, Vamshi. I will not be explaining that part. Okay. But if some kind of topics are there, we can do that kind of thing together. But I cannot explain that part. Okay. Because I haven't, you see, for everyone will know everything, right? Each and everything everyone will not know. Even I am also a human being. So some people who are already working in a project, they may have some information about how to use this and all. But since I have not worked on this area, I'll not have any idea on this. Okay. If you bring this kind of topic to us, we can together do some research on that. Okay. That's what I can say. Generally, the documentation of APIs will not be done by testers. Who will be documenting the APIs? Vamshi, who will be documenting the APIs basically? We already covered this, Rajkumar. Go and watch the previous sessions, Rajkumar. Difference between web service and API already covered in the previous sessions only. Okay. If you have not attended the session, you just go and watch. You will get the answer. Okay. Yeah, fine. Who will be documenting the APIs? Backend dev team, right? So that's the reason I don't know. Okay, how to use YAML files to create the documentation for APIs. I don't know because that is generally taken care by the dev team. Okay, so we can ask the question: how dev team will create API documentation using YAML per Swagger, etc. Okay, let's see what the information we'll get. Choose OpenAI specification version. Start your YAML file. As a developer, you have to do this. Okay, not as a software tester, guys. Yeah, the developer will do this. Okay. Developer will write all these YAML files, define the server in the YAML files, define API paths in the YAML files. Once all these things are done, define parameters in the YAML file. Okay. Define request and response schemas in the YAML files. Test and visualize with Swagger tools. Use tools like Swagger Editor, Swagger UI, Stoplight Studio. Paste your YAML file to see a live interactive API doc. Okay, this kind of YAML files they'll put into this kind of tools and they can see a live API doc will come. Okay, let's see this. Okay, the entire thing we got. We can copy this, and if there is a possibility of using this YAML file, right? Copy this YAML file. Copy this YAML file, and we need to open Swagger Editor. Where is Swagger Editor? Open link. Swagger Editor we need to open. Editor.swagger.com. Some editor is opening. Where I have to paste, I don't know. I think this is the area I need to post. Yes, Control A. Delete. Now paste. Now we got it. Okay. I think it's clear now, right, Venkat? Venkat, it's clear, right? I tried this. Okay. But developers will do this. We will not be doing this. How this kind of YAML files will be created? It all depends on the developer. Okay, backend developer will do this all this stuff. And how we can use this kind of tools like Swagger Editor and all, convert this YAML files into this better looking API documentation. The Swagger documentation is like this. Okay, clear? But this is not the work of us. This is the work of the developers still. Okay. Right. Anyhow, you have brought the question to us. Whatever we can do because something out of my reach, at least I can try and tell you guys, right? With my confidence levels and experience, at least I can try and explain it to you, even though I don't know the answer, but I can give you the way to overcome that, okay? And help you in understanding what areas and all. Hope that is clear for everyone. Hope that is clear for everyone. That's a good question. That's a good question. Okay, keep asking such kind of questions, guys. Okay, we need to learn a lot of stuff. We may not be knowing all the things in the market. Okay, at least when this kind of questions come, we have to think and try out something. With whatever the knowledge we have, we can explore anything, guys. This is the proof. Yes, yes, definitely. Positive and negative scenarios in the case. You open this again. Take the same example. Here only you have to give the positive and negative things, right? You know, how you want to test and all, you have to modify these things and run them. You can try it out from here. What do you mean by positive and negative? Yeah, for validation, it will be easy from Swagger documentation itself, from the browser itself, where you have opened the Swagger documentation. You can change these values in the Swagger API and then try it out. Yes, here itself we'll get the codes and all. Is that the question that you are asking, Venkat? From here only you can do the testing. If you are using Swagger documentation, most of the testing can be done from here, whether it is positive testing or negative testing. From Swagger documentation only you can do. Okay, clear now? Great. Any other questions, anyone? Any other questions, anyone? So tomorrow I'll be focusing more on HTTP methods and HTTP status codes, guys. Okay. Tomorrow the main topics will be HTTP methods and HTTP status codes, and once these things are completed, and a few more small topics will be there. Okay. So that we'll see. Very small minor topics will be there. After that, we'll actually go for actual testing. Okay. So till here we can go. These things are for rest assured framework, guys. 34 and 35 you can ignore. 34 and 35 you can ignore. The last one is 33 only. Now we are here. Okay. HTTP methods, HTTP status codes. This is already covered. Okay. This is also already covered. Workspaces collections and all. Okay. Some proxy settings and all. This is important. Postman documentation is also very simple one. Global variables also simple one. Request and response sections in the Postman tool. Some basics of the Postman tool, that is running multiple APIs simultaneously for performance testing. At a high level, we'll cover that. It's not important though. Here is the actual thing that we'll see. So these are the two main important topics, and after that, things will be very easy, except one or two topics in between. Okay. Yeah. Do we need to write test cases for API testing? Yes, it depends on the project, as rightly said by Sarita, right? As rightly said by Sarita, it depends on the project you are working of. Yes, correct. Sarita, you got the answer from Venkat, right? That depends on your project. Okay. So in some projects, it's not compulsory to write the test cases. If you write test cases, that's very good also. Okay. You write some positive and negative test cases for testing your APIs and all, it will be very difficult, for each and everything, the kind of documentation you have to do will become more. Okay. There will be different formats and all. It's not compulsory to do the documentation of the test cases while performing testing of the APIs, but maybe there. Okay. Documentations can be there. Some checklist is a good idea, I feel. Okay. Bharati is saying instead of Postman, you will be using the Insomnia. Yes, that's a good tool. A lot of tools are there in the market. Just tool, right, is an interface. Just a tool with an interface. Okay. Postman is there, SOAP UI is there, BDD is there. Okay. We covered a lot of things about what is BDD. Okay. Postman and SOAP UI. Okay. And Insomnia is another API testing tool. Some light tools are there. Okay. Different tools can be used. Popular one is Postman. Okay. Even SOAP UI also is there. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Next. Any other questions, anyone? We'll see whatever you see. I am saying this is the last one, but I am not saying this is the last one. I want to cover everything in depth for you. Okay, we'll do some research after this topic, right? We'll do some research. Okay, so this is not the end point. We'll not stop here. I'll continue that. Okay, I'll continue the process and see what we can do. Okay, yeah, that's great. Anything else, guys? Anything else? Yeah, today's session I'll upload. Definitely, I'll upload today's session. Yeah, thank you, Bharati, for the feedback. Yeah, that's all for today, guys. Let's meet tomorrow at same time. It's let's hope for 6 p.m. If not, we'll connect at other time. Okay, I'll let you know in the chat box. Okay, accordingly, we'll connect tomorrow and continue with the session. Hope you have learned something new today, and hope that we'll also cover something new. I'll also cover something new tomorrow also, and let's go to the next level in API testing after this. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Piyush, for the feedback. Yeah. Welcome all. Bye, everyone. Take care. Bye, everyone. Take care. Thank you all for the feedback. Bye.